Right now, let's check in with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who is live in Winnipeg, making a major housing announcement. Again, this is ahead of the 2024 federal budget.
Des loyers. $1 milliard en prêts et 470 millions en contributions. Par exemple, si un immeuble avec des logements abordables est mis en vente,
if an affordable housing unit is sold, its contributions could help a non-profit organization buy it. By doing so, organizations will keep rent affordable, and they can perform the work that would be required to maintain housing and prices in the long term.
Protection Fund will aim to mobilize investments and financing from the charitable sector, private sector, and other orders of government in order to maximize the ability to acquire and protect affordable housing. A good proof of concept for this initiative is the BC Rental Protection Fund in British Columbia. They recognize that for every new affordable rental home that is built in their province, 4 more are lost to investors, to conversions, to demolition, and to rent increases. And this is happening in communities right across the country, which is why the federal government is acting today. La semaine passée et cette semaine, on a beaucoup parlé de mesures pour le logement.
And this week, we've been talking a lot about affordable housing measures in the budget. And we'll have even more to say in the next coming days. But what we must recall is that we are here to protect renters. We are doing more to protect housing faster and to build the infrastructure required. We are here to help building apartments with affordable rents and to protect existing affordable housing, and doing so through models that work well for low-income individuals. Every day we are working to give a fair chance to each generation.
Every day to build an economy that helps every generation get ahead, including Gen Z and millennials. Because for Canada to succeed, we need everyone to succeed. Thank you so much for being here. I'll now happily pass it over to our Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, Sean Fraser. Sean.
Bonjour, bienvenue tout le monde. C'est un plaisir d'être ici.
Hello, welcome everyone. I'm very pleased to be here for this wonderful announcement that increases the number of affordable housing units across the country.
Prime Minister, it's always good to be sharing news, and it's good to be here in Winnipeg with some of my federal colleagues, Minister Van Dahl, Ben, Terry, Kevin. Good to see you guys. Mayor Gillingham, after our success in the Housing Accelerator Fund, I want to congratulate you publicly. And Premier, on your historic election, I want to say congratulations. And Bernadette, it's been a pleasure to work alongside you. And I can't, of course, leave out President Chartrand at the Manitoba Métis Federation. Just to take one moment as well, I do want to acknowledge the efforts to advocate for more affordable housing of one of our now former federal colleagues, Daniel. Congratulations on getting out on your own terms. And a few of us do in politics, but I just want to say it's been a pleasure to work alongside you and wishing you the best as you serve your province in a new role in the upcoming days. We're experiencing a housing crisis in this country, and it's manifesting itself in a lot of very human ways for families who live in communities in every part of Canada. There's too many young people that I talk to who are priced out of the market in the community where they grew up. There's too many seniors who tell me they can't find a place to downsize in the community where their grandkids are being raised. I'm talking to too many workers who can't afford to live in the community where they go to their job every day. And that's true here in Winnipeg as much as it is anywhere else. And let me just say first, Jocelyn, thanks for bringing the kids along. It's clear this place is theirs as much as anybody's. And that's what homes are meant to be, and I think it's a pleasure to have them here today. But it's important to understand that the housing crisis that we're living through is not impacting all of us equally. The most vulnerable are feeling the brunt more than anyone else. And in different parts of the country, that impacts different communities. In Western Canada through the prairies, the disproportionate impact on Indigenous Canadians is something we can't turn a blind eye to. Over the course of the past few weeks and the next few weeks, we have been and will be rolling out a series of policies designed to address Canada's national housing crisis, culminating with the publication of a plan in advance of the federal budget with a comprehensive set of policies meant to address some of these pressing concerns. There's a few key areas where we're going to be putting forward measures, including the need to build more homes, the need to support the most vulnerable, and the need to make it easier to rent or buy a place to live in this country. Today, we're focusing on a specific opportunity for us to help some of the most vulnerable. To understand how we got where we are today, you got to go back a few decades in our history. We had about 3 decades preceding the National Housing Strategy in 2017, where the federal government, over the course of both Liberal and Conservative governments, decided that it wasn't their responsibility to invest in housing. As a result, we see a direct consequence today that we don't have enough affordable housing in this country. Now, though we stepped up with the National Housing Strategy to put more money on the table to build more housing when we introduced the National Housing Strategy, we know that there's more we need to do because, as the Prime Minister pointed out, over the course of the last number of decades, we've actually lost hundreds of thousands of affordable housing units in this country. Some of those are a result of buildings not being properly maintained or repaired that had to be demolished. Others get bought up, renovated, and have the rents jacked up to a price that the residents couldn't afford and pulls them out of their affordable status. Now, we have an obligation to do that because here in Canada, less than 4% of our housing stock is actually held by nonprofits or governments outside of the market. By way of comparison, advanced economies around the world average about 8%. We have a moral obligation to make sure that everyone in this country has a roof over their head and has a safe and affordable place to call home. But even if you don't buy into the moral argument, the economic argument should speak for itself. The cost of ignoring homelessness is more expensive than the cost of addressing it. When we see people who don't have an affordable place to live, they more often run into challenges in the healthcare system, which impacts the resources we put towards the strained system. They more often run into challenges with the law enforcement or the courts, which comes at a cost to all of us, and more often fail to achieve their economic potential and are denied an opportunity to contribute their talents that benefits communities, not just for the individual who's looking to find a home, but for all of us. Now, we can help change that. And today's announcement of the Canada Rental Protection Fund, worth $1.5 billion, is going to put more housing in the hands of nonprofits who will not just ensure that it's affordable today, but ensure that it's kept affordable forever. This is a new strategy that we're adopting to help ensure as we build more units, we stop losing the organic affordable rents that exist on the market today. This is something that we're going to co-lead with the nonprofit sector across Canada to make sure that we're protecting the affordability that exists in perpetuity. Now, this is important to understand because the cause of homelessness isn't somebody's family history. It's not their race. It's not their sexual orientation. It's not even mental health or addictions. The cause of homelessness is a lack of affordable housing. And the solution to homelessness is to have more affordable housing. Today is going to ensure that we achieve that goal. And we have to ask ourselves, what kind of a country do we want to be? My view is that Canada should be a country where we read about homelessness in our history books, not in our newspapers. This is something that we can achieve, but it's going to take serious investments. And today we're taking a major step in the right direction. I want to say thank you to everyone who works in the nonprofit sector. It has been a tiring few years. The good you're doing to serve vulnerable members of your community is so sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to partnering with you in the days ahead. I want to take this opportunity now to introduce the Premier of this province, Wab Kinew. Thank you for being with us.
Okay, $1.5 billion. This was just announced as per the new Rental Protection Fund. This is a part of a series of housing announcements ahead of the 2024 budget. We were just listening to Housing Minister Sean Fraser. We heard from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. They are in Winnipeg. They were also joined by Premier Wab Kinew of Manitoba and also the Minister of Northern Affairs. This is Dan Vandal. Okay, right now we're going to go back to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who's continuing to make a housing announcement in Winnipeg. Right now, he's doing a little Q&A.
We're going to continue to focus on affordability. We're going to continue to focus on putting money in the pockets of Canadians. There are no plans to raise taxes on the middle class. We are focused on delivering the investments, the supports, the housing, the childcare, the National School Food Program, and the jobs in a growing clean economy that this country needs. We have one of the strongest fiscal balance sheets in the G7, the lowest debt to GDP ratio. We're the third largest economy in the world with a AAA credit rating. We're going to continue to make fiscal responsibility at the core of what we do, even as we ensure fairness for every generation.
Ian Fraze, CBC. World Central Kitchen is asking for a third party to investigate the killings, not Israel. Yesterday, you called for an investigation. Would you accept an Israeli investigation of the incident?
We need a fully open, transparent, independent, and rapid investigation into what happened. I have to directly take issue with what Prime Minister Netanyahu said yesterday when he said, well, this just happens in conflicts and in wartime. No, it doesn't just happen. And it shouldn't just happen. When you have aid workers for an extraordinary organization like World Central Kitchen risking their lives every day in an incredibly dangerous place to deliver food to people who are experiencing a horrific humanitarian catastrophe, that is not okay that they get hit by targeted missiles like this. The reality is we need much more humanitarian support to flow into Gaza, much more protection of civilians, of innocents, and of aid workers. That's why we need a humanitarian ceasefire. We need for Hamas to lay down its arms. We need for the hostages to be released. And we need a ceasefire to allow this humanitarian catastrophe to end as quickly as possible. Okay. Ce qui s'est passé aux travailleurs de World Central Kitchen.
What happened to the World Central Kitchen workers is totally unacceptable. We need to ensure the protection of those who are there to protect the most vulnerable. People who are going through an extraordinary humanitarian crisis. I do not agree with Prime Minister Netanyahu when he said that these things just happen in war. This should not happen. Those who are there to protect civilians must be protected themselves. So yes, we are calling for a transparent, independent investigation. We do need to clarify and find out what happened, and we need to better protect humanitarian workers. We need to send more aid to Gaza, more humanitarian aid, and we need a ceasefire. We need Hamas to set down its arms and release hostages. We need a ceasefire in order to be able to send more aid to Palestinians.
Steve Lambert, La Presse Canadienne. Your government, along with Ontario, has spent a lot of money in recent years to build up electric vehicle manufacturing capacity in Canada. Do you think today's decision by the Ford Motor Company to delay the plant in Oakville is a sign that the plan needs to be reworked or is backfiring?
I think obviously different companies will make decisions that make sense for them, but what we're seeing is an incredible adoption rate of electric vehicles and the manufacturing and the entire manufacturing chain that we're building up in Canada, from mines to battery assembly to auto assembly to the recycling that goes after it. Canada has seen and Canadians have seen that being lower emission in our daily lives is also good for the planet, but also good for a growing economy and great jobs. We've continued to draw in investments from around the world, and we'll continue to be there to invest in a strong future as those projects and those jobs are created.
Thank you. Next question.
Eric Bandera, Winnipeg Free Press. This is for both you and the Premier. What is Manitoba's carbon tax exemption plan, and was that discussed this morning?
I'm looking forward to sitting down with Wab after this press conference to talk about a range of things that we're working on together. All Canadians know that we need to fight climate change in ways that support families. That's why back in 2016, we put forward a pan-Canadian climate change framework that all premiers and all provinces worked on together to make sure that even as we were putting a price on pollution, it put more money back in the pockets, particularly of middle-class and lower-income Canadians. Because fighting climate change and helping with affordability are things that even back then matter even more right now. But as I've said multiple times, provinces are free to move forward on their own pricing systems as long as they hit the same levels and the same outcomes that are in place across the country. BC and Quebec have had their own pricing system in place. It's important that it not be free to pollute anywhere in the country. The federal backstop puts more money in the pockets of Canadians while fighting climate change in a very efficient and powerful way, but every province is open to put forward an equivalent plan. And that's what I'm happy to work on with the Premier here and with anyone right across the country. Rob, do you want to take the word?
Absolutely. If I might, I wanted to just jump in on Steve's question as well. Of course, in the budget that we tabled this week, we've brought in incentives on electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids for the first time in Manitoba. And these are targeted towards the middle class and those who need the most help to be able to do the right choice by the environment. And so we're really happy that not only is this available on vehicles that are more affordable, but it's also available for used vehicles. But given the fact that we're here in Transcona today, I want to share with the good people in the room that our budget this year has a $10 million investment into NFI Group, into New Flyer, which for decades has been supporting good-paying blue-collar jobs right here in Transcona. And right now, we know that vehicles that get assembled by NFI because of Buy American rules, the final assembly happens in Minnesota. But this $10 million investment means when a Canadian transit company like the TTC or Winnipeg Transit orders a bus, that those buses are going to be assembled right here in Winnipeg to put food on the table for hardworking Manitobans. When we talk about the carbon tax, I'm thinking a lot about nation building right now. We know that the conversation has become so divisive. And coming out of COVID, and just the experience that we've all had for the past few years, I think Manitobans and Canadians are looking for reasons to come together. I think there's a broad consensus that we want to do better by the environment. I think there's an equally broad consensus that we got to find ways to make life more affordable. Everybody's dealing with the cost of living. So I look forward to bringing our plan, which is a credible plan for net zero, to be achieved here in Manitoba, forward to the federal government. This is a conversation that we've already been engaging in, and so I appreciate the Prime Minister's openness. And we've got a really strong case to make. Manitoba, for the past 50 years, through Manitoba Hydro, has built up a low-carbon electricity grid. We've got the leading zero-emission bus manufacturer just steps away from where we're gathered here today. And through the new steps we're taking to electrify and decarbonize the way that you get to work and the way that you heat your home, we've got a very strong case to make that Manitoba is going to hit net zero. And so we're going to be looking for that exemption from the federal backstop, but we're also going to ensure that we're keeping your life more affordable and that we're doing our part to solve the climate crisis. Thanks.
For Minister Trudeau, would you accept a exemption plan that doesn't include a price, that is focused on rebates and credits and
You guys have the hardest job of all today.
We ensured, as of 2016 onwards, that it's no longer free to pollute anywhere in this country. That's what a price on pollution is all about. Now, the price on pollution that we brought in is about a third of our climate plan. It's responsible for a significant amount of reductions of emissions because it's no longer free to pollute, and companies have that certainty that the price is going to continue to go up. Now, a number of jurisdictions have moved forward with different measures that are different from the federal backstop that keep a price signal on pollution while they invest in renewables, why they continue to reach for net zero, and that's an important part of the entire conversation that we're having. But what remains essential is that it cannot be free to pollute anywhere around the country. Now, we see the federal Conservatives, in particular Pierre Poilievre, wanting to make pollution free again. And on top of that, wanting to take away the Canada carbon rebate checks that are delivering this year $1,200 to a family of 4 in Manitoba, which is more than the vast majority of families in Manitoba pay in the extra price on pollution. That's done to both help with affordability while we fight climate change. And I'm looking forward to discussing the details of Manitoba's proposal because we need to move forward in ways that are right for every province, and we're always open to those discussions. That's been part of the pan-Canadian framework from the very beginning, that provinces that want to price pollution in their own way can do so, as long as it is equivalent in impact to what's going on elsewhere in the country for matters of fairness and for matters of shared ambition.
Next question.
Sierra Bettens with APTN National News. So Prime Minister Trudeau, First Nations on the prairies are out $274 million for housing because the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation was using outdated data. Will those First Nations be compensated?
We're going to continue to work with Indigenous communities right across the country to meet the tremendous housing needs that we know are faced by communities. That's why we stepped up significantly with billions of dollars in Indigenous, particularly First Nations and Métis housing, and why we're going to continue to work to make sure that we're building those homes across the prairies and indeed across the country for Indigenous communities.
Next question.
Hi, Prime Minister. Marnie Blunt with Global News. Yesterday, my colleagues asked you when you saw the CSIS summary of Han Dong's conversation with a Chinese diplomat about the two Michaels, and we also asked whether or not you would be allowing him back into caucus now that that document is public. You didn't answer the question, so we'd like to put them to you again today. When did you see that CSIS summary, and will you let Han Dong back into caucus?
There is an ongoing public inquiry into foreign interference that is doing extremely important work, both highlighting what is going on and what has happened within government to protect Canadians and our institutions from foreign interference, but also look at ways we can do even more, as well as reassuring the public that indeed the 2019 and 2021 elections, despite attempts at foreign interference, remained free and fair. This is the ongoing work happening right now in Ottawa, and I look forward to fully participating next week in the public inquiry. But for right now, I'm really happy to be in Winnipeg talking about the fact that we are investing in ensuring that low-income and affordable rental housing remains affordable for families like Jocelyn's for years and decades to come. That's what this investment is about, and it's going to have a real, tangible impact on the lives of Canadians across the country as we step up on fairness for every generation.
Just going back to the CSIS topic, do you believe Han Dong should be allowed back into caucus based on the contents of the CSIS document, or did it raise concerns for you?
I think everyone is looking forward to the work of the independent inquiry into foreign interference and looks forward to seeing the Commissioner's reports in the coming months.
Next question.
Simon Deschamps, Radio-Canada. Il y a des premiers ministres provinciaux qui disent que
Some
vous empiétez dans leur champ de compétences avec des annonces comme aujourd'hui.
Stepping into their jurisdiction with the announcement today. Some observers are saying that you're breaking the Federation. What is your opinion? I think that what Canadians are most concerned about is whether can they pay for their rent. Will they have good jobs in the years to come? Will they be able to put their children in affordable daycare centers? Will we be delivering programs, meal programs in schools? These are programs that will ensure that children do not go hungry. I know that it's a priority for all the premiers of all the provinces, and this is why we are saying that the federal government will be part of the solution. We will be making investments that will help across the country. Where provinces are already doing the job the right way, we will continue to work together with them to do even more. And where some of the provinces need...
Okay, we've been listening live to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Winnipeg. This is for the announcement of a $1.5 billion rental protection fund. After that, he has been taking a myriad of questions regarding the new food program in schools, new housing initiatives, which Prime Minister Trudeau says, quote, right now, no plans to raise taxes on the middle class.